There was a whispering in my hearth, a sigh of the cold, grown wistful of a former earth it might recall.
I was born in '63 in Rainworth, or Reneth as we say, and I was born in a pit house overlooking Rufford Colliery. We moved to Mansfield when I was about 3 or 4. My father worked down the mine at Rufford Colliery. My grandfather worked at the mine at Blidworth Colliery, just down the road. I'm the last generation of my family that worked down the mine. I'm sure my father was distraught when I said I was going to work underground. He wanted a better future for me, but that's what I chose in the end. We worked hard all week, we came up the pit at the weekend, and we played just as hard. You went into Mansfield on virtually any day of the week, and it was busy. There wasn't a single pub that was half empty. Very, very sad for me personally when I go back to Mansfield. The lack of activity, the almost empty streets around the shopping centre.
My dad worked in several of the coal mines locally, Sutton, Uthwaite. Many generations down, that's what they all did. All his brothers, 6 brothers, all worked in the pits.
My dad was a striking miner. I started working in the pits just after the strike. It was a tough time, a year with your family having no money, struggling to survive, knowing ultimately that you could never win that strike. But it was a defining moment in history.
The 74-1 was about pay, and it was justifiable.
It was quite ruthless, it was brutal. The police treatment of some of the miners, and it got really, really nasty.
It was a time when unions had traditionally in the 70s wielded a lot of power and sometimes held the country to ransom. It was always going to end either one way or the other.
Well, to most miners, I think even those that went to work during the strike, Margaret Thatcher was the devil incarnate. Thatcher, being young in the Conservative Party at that time, said this cannot happen again. So when they did come back into power in '79, the first thing that they did was to try and neuter the power of the trade unions.
It felt like everything was going to explode, and it was just waiting to happen. One person to say the wrong word to somebody, and it would all kick off.
You know what? Yeah, there's a lot of memories from that strike, and there's a lot of lessons to be learned, but we're in a different age now.
So, in your opinion, what were the factors that led to Mansfield finally changing blue in 2017?
In Cyprus.
Alan Mills' impact on Mansfield was very positive in the 80s and the 90s.
He knew he was Labour, everybody was going to vote Labour, and I think that was a comfort to him that he didn't have to work too hard, he'd got nothing to prove.
The party would have benefited from a fresh face in 2015. Unfortunately, I think Alan went on for too long.
Alan probably did lose that enthusiasm in his later years as MP.
It was almost like he was depressed about it. It's an old mining town, and that's what it is. But it could be so much more.
I've never been interested in politics, ever, ever, ever. And then I was encouraged by Nigel Farage into believing that change was possible. I mean, he's a brilliant orator. He's world-class, there's no question about that. He's Messiah-like. He's not very good on detail, but that's another issue. There's a very, very strong movement against immigration. We have immigration issues in this town. Add to that the fact that Alan Mills was almost a hate figure. At that time, UKIP was on a high. I honestly felt we'd got a good chance. And at 11,800 votes on reflection, that was an achievement.
I suppose it was a warning sign to us that a sizable part of UKIP's vote came from us, or our traditional voters. And perhaps, you know, in hindsight, obviously it was a sign of things to come.
I will go to Parliament and propose that the British people decide our future in Europe through an in-out referendum on Thursday, the 23rd of June.
Have your say.
Let June the 23rd go down in our history as our Independence Day!
OK, so you got the 2016 referendum, and this was quite exciting times.
Because these areas had become so neglected, a huge build-up of resentment, a huge distrust amongst people of your typical politician sat in Westminster.
People kept saying to the people of Ashfield and Mansfield, if you vote to leave and we leave, you're going to lose jobs, you're going to be worse off, you're going to be all these sorts of horrible things. But you know what? The people of Ashfield and Mansfield have had all that. So don't threaten us with losing your jobs, because they've gone.
Leave Means Leave ran an active campaign, and I aligned myself to that. This wasn't about a party political situation and you were going to win a place in Parliament or whatever. This was just about in or out.
The Leave vote in Mansfield was 70.9%, one of the largest votes to leave in the whole country during that election. I voted Remain. I still believe that was the right decision. I struggled to see the bonus of Brexit. I think there's a lot of wild talk by the likes of Johnson and the Leave campaign. You know, if we don't get the right trade deal and the economy takes a hit, it's areas like this are going to be hit harder than ever.
People in London like to turn around and say, oh, it's all immigration. Some of it is immigration. If you're a bloke in his 50s and 60s who worked down the pit, came out of that industry and tried to do something else, tried to be a plumber, tried to be, start a business, and then all of a sudden there were thousands of Eastern European plumbers competing for you in that market, making your life quite difficult. That's a very different experience.
Well, they cannot see physically what the EU's done for a place like Ashfield or Mansfield. It's impossible to see. Our pits are gone, our factories are gone, our pubs are gone, all our jobs are gone. And all that time, we've been in this fantastic EU, and it's not saved any of them.
I knew there was massive, massive interest in Leave. Here was our chance, the people's chance, to actually say no. We are here, we have a voice, and this is how we see it. They were asked to make a judgment call on Leave, and they flocked to it.
I have just chaired a meeting of the Cabinet where we agreed that the government should call a general election to be held on the 8th of June.
Are we going to be a country that works only to make the richest even richer? I know which side I'm on, you know which side you're on.
I hereby declare that Joseph Allen Neal has duly been elected. Thank you very much indeed. I'm so sorry. No. Oh, I'm so sorry. I hereby declare that Benjamin David Bradley has been elected.
I don't think anybody saw that coming. It was quite a shock, especially for Alan.
Ben, let me just advise you right at the very start. This is a job with a short-term contract.
I'm sure he probably did a lot. I think the challenge for him was moving into the 21st century in terms of communicating that to people.
Alan Mill was still not liked at this point, but still got a large vote. His actual vote went up 400 or 500.
Talk about some of the positive things that he actually did get done for Mansfield.
Well, it's interesting because I'm trying to think.
You should not take liberties with Labour voters, and he did do. And in the end, people were voting for Ben to sack Alan Mill. I don't think anybody could recognise him in the street. If I'm going to be blunt, an absolute disgrace.
I should imagine that most of former Labour voters that voted for Tory did so with a heavy heart.
If those powers that that position holds were utilised in such a way that was proactive, exciting, I believe that we could have made a real difference to the lives of people in Mansfield.
It was more of a vote of desperation. It was more of a cry for help by these communities.
We saw the vote increasingly merge around Labour and Conservatives. The other parties kind of fell away a bit more. Obviously, going back a bit further, we had a big UKIP vote, 20%, I think, back in 2015.
The electorate weren't persuaded by a really old man at the end of his time. I am as well, but I'm talking about Alan Mill and the young kid on the block. At the end of the day, I think they were persuaded by the politics of the argument, and for Mansfield, it's Brexit.
The Conservative Party were becoming the Brexit he wanted to vote for.
Ben Bradley, as a late convert to Leave, banged the drum for Brexit in 2017. Bearing in mind, he campaigned to remain in 2016, but unsurprisingly for him, there was a quick change of face.
Ben rode the perfect political storm, really.
I had applied for a job as a campaign manager for Mark Spencer in Sherwood. He had a 200 majority at the time. Mark offered me the job to run his parliamentary office. I was there for 2 years, nearly. Turned 200 majority into 4,500, I think, which I take full credit for, of course. And that was it. I was hooked. We had no Conservative Party really locally. So when the seat came up, I thought, you know what? It's a place that I know. It's a place that I've always kind of been around from when I was little. So if there was ever going to be a chance, this might be it.
He won pure and simply because he took 9,000 of the UKIP vote, which was basically for leaving.
I don't think it's as simple as saying they all went from UKIP to the Conservatives. That wasn't my experience.
He managed to convince those 9,000, or in fact the bulk of the vote in Mansfield that would have been UKIP, that the Tories could deliver.
I don't think it was as simple as that at all. I mean, if Sid wants to take credit for losing thousands of votes, that's an interesting approach to things.
Sid didn't help at all. Probably did us more damage than good, actually. He took 2,500 votes, I think, in 2017 UKIP vote. That could have cost us.
I think people like Farage and UKIP played the role of Pied Piper by leading them away from the Labour Party, closer towards the Conservative Party, to make it that much easier for former Labour Party voters to vote Conservative.
Ironically, Labour's vote actually went up compared to 2015, but because ours went up significantly more, we managed to sneak over the line.
Ben Bradley was probably successful in dragging across those people who voted UKIP. They didn't come back to us, they came to the Tory party, and he won by just over 1,000 majority. You know, in terms of people making up the mind, that's about 500 people, the way they voted, turned that election. You look back and realise that the party had been in decline, which has culminated in the result in 2017 and indeed 2019.
The atmosphere feels good. Compared to 2017, obviously more people know who I am this time. Nobody knew me from Adam back then, and the feedback's been really positive.
I fought in his campaign in 2017, but then I found very, very quickly that Ben's attention wasn't about Mansfield, it was more about his career over in Westminster.
Well, it's been a mixed reception. We've been now standing for the last 3 Saturdays, there's one more Saturday to go. A lot of people are not going to vote this time.
Every day for 2 years, there's going to be election, there's going to be an election. I'm glad it's here. What's coming up on the doorsteps, as you can imagine, for the most part, Brexit, and for God's sake, let's get it done.
Other than Brexit, did you have any other reasons for wanting to run again this time?
Well, unfortunately, unconditionally Mr Bradley. Basically, what is it then? It's supposed to be just between Labour and Conservatives, that's it then, so you don't split the vote, there's us all them. No, that sign down there says it all. He split the vote, he took 9,000 of my votes last time. Now, is he that arrogant he's assuming that 9 are now his?
Probably 85–90% of the vote in Mansfield is going to be either blue or red.
Hello, I'm Sonia Ward. If successful, I'll be Mansfield Woodhouse and Warsop's first ever female Member of Parliament.
It's going to be me or her at the end of the day. I'm nervous. I'm always, at the end, it's a big deal for me, and it's my livelihood and my, mortgage and all the rest of it.
Whether she'll win a lot, I don't know. I think in this election, everything's up in the air.
Under the Conservatives, this school has lost £204 per year per pupil. The Labour Party would restore that.
Helping people in Mansfield, Woodhouse, Warsop to feel connected to Westminster.
If Ben Bradley wins it, he needs to win it without lying and without pinching votes from other groups. OK? If he wins it fair and square, I'll shake his hand.
As long as there's no national massive cock-ups, we'll be all right here. But I'm not counting the chickens yet.
Thumbs up for the Conservatives.
My prediction is that Ben Bradley will not win. He's not from the area, he didn't go to school here, he didn't have a business here or a home here. In fact, the first thing he did when he became MP, I believe, was buy a house in Newark for £300,000. It shows how much he thinks of the area.
I'll vote for you.
Like I said, I appreciate that.
Please get out tomorrow and vote Labour for a brighter future.
A lot more still to be done. And I hope that I can rely on your vote.
It's finally here, the day when we all get to cast our vote.
You just want to get to polling day feeling like you've done everything you can do, because if you had an afternoon off and then you lost by 2, you'd just be thinking, well, I could have done more. So all we need to do is just plough on every day, next 12 days.
You don't want to lose by 2.
Don't want to lose by 2, or by any, ideally.
Ward Sonia Rose, Labour Party, 15,178. Therefore, I give public notice that Benjamin David Bradley is duly elected as the Member of Parliament for the Mansfield constituency.
Wow. Well, a huge result, and I think if you go back even 3 or 4 years and ask anybody in Mansfield if Mansfield ever be a 16,000 Conservative majority, you'd have been laughed out of town. I'd have laughed you out of town probably as well, but here we are. And I think, to quote John McDonnell in an interview earlier on, I think people did want to get Brexit done and to have some certainty and to move the country forward, and I hope that with a reasonable majority down there, we can deliver that.
I first joined the Labour Party in, I think it was about 1983. Being brought up in a household, a mining household, on a strict diet of Scargill Skinner and Tony Benn, there was probably only one way I was ever going to vote. And it's like a religion, it's like a faith. And it wasn't until I started working for a Labour MP, started to question, why are we doing this, why are we doing that? And it took me a long time for the penny to drop that actually this is not the party I want to be in.
I've always been a supporter of the Labour Party. I just think it comes natural, regardless if you're working class, middle class, upper class. If you recognise injustice and want to do something about it, if you want a better world, if you want to change the world, then you join the Labour Party. I don't think the Tory Party has the philosophy to want to change the world or make the world a better place. It's based upon the individual and the philosophy around that individual and entrepreneurialism, and everything else comes a very poor second best to the Conservative Party.
20 months after leaving the Labour Party, I'm a Member of Parliament in the Conservative Party. It's incredible, really. I'm the first MP ever in Ashfield that was born there and raised there and schooled there, worked there. I'm incredibly proud to have worked in the pits, incredibly proud of my family, that we've all been working class and worked our socks off to get where we are. And that's what politics should be about, is rewarding working class people for working hard and wanting to get on.
My time down the mines came to an end in 1994. We knew that was always going to be the trend, colliery closures year on year.
Son and grandson and great-grandson of coal miners. In fact, coal miners as far back as we can trace. I think most kids now in Ashford have probably never seen a lump of coal, never mind a coal mine. I had about just over 10 years, I think, in the pits. Enjoyed every single minute of it.
What do you think should be done with places like the Clipston Headstocks and colliery?
There needs to be always a nod to the history and the heritage there, whatever happens to it. If there is an economically viable way of keeping it and turning it into something, then yes, let's do it, let's crack on and get that done. If not, let's accept that and let's redevelop that site.
My personal opinion is I think they should go.
I would like to see them restored.
There is a strong affinity for me to those headstocks. And every time I drive by them, I just think it brings back a lot of memories for me. For my 18 months of my childhood, we lived in Clipston and we lived on Greendale Crescent, which is right at the side of those headstocks. I can remember my dad working there through the strikes, and I can remember us having candles on the power cords. So I'd like to see them stay.
As someone who comes from that area, that goes back to that area on a regular basis, I like to see them, because I think it is a constant reminder of the struggles that mine workers have had to undertake on a daily basis back into the 1800s, the lives that have been lost, the legacy of the coal industry, if you like, because Mansfield was born off the back of the coal industry. And I do think we need a permanent reminder of where we've come from and where we are now.
Fellowship days and fellowship ways are the ways for me. Camping in August when the sun is bright, hiking in the forest on a winter's night, when we're together, whatever the weather, at home or far away. It's fellowship days and fellowship ways for me, always for me. It's fellowship days and ways.